Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayasho Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtiki. Momagnanatimirandasya Gnanandana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. On the occasion of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance, we can chant his pranam mantra. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती नामिने शिवाशुभानवी देवी दैताय कृपाब्धये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दायिने प्रभे नमः माधुर्योज्वल प्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुग भक्तिदा गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्ते दीनभाविनी वृद्धाप सिद्धांत हारिणी. Reading from Canto 3, Chapter 25, verse 19. न युज्यमानया भक्त्या भगवत्यखिलात्मनि सदृशोऽस्ति शिवः पन्था योगिनां ब्रह्मसिद्धये. So yesterday we discussed about seeing Atma and becoming indifferent to material existence. So we've been discussing some practical things about how this is basically Brahmabhuta, and we have to get to Brahmabhuta, because without coming to Brahmabhuta, we are not going to come to pure devotion. Okay. So here continuing, perfection in self-realization cannot be attained by any kind of yogi unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Person of Godhead, for that is the only auspicious path. And perfection in self-realization. Perfection in self-realization means attaining Bhagavan. Because all other yogic processes attain only different aspects of Bhagavan, but not Bhagavan. For someone to achieve Krishna, they have to come to bhakti. Bhaktya Bhagavati Akhilatmani. Bhaktya. That knowledge and renunciation are never perfect unless joined by devotional service is explicitly explained here. Na yujyamanaya means without being doubted. Yujya, connect. When this devotional service, then the question is where to offer that service. Devotional service is to be offered to the Supreme Person of Godhead, who is the super soul of everything. For that is the only reliable path of self-realization or Brahman realization. The word Brahma Siddhaye means to understand oneself to be different from matter, to understand oneself to be Brahman. The Vedic words Aham Brahmasmi. The Vedic words are Aham Brahmasmi. Brahma Siddhi means that one should know that he is not matter, he is pure soul. There are different kinds of yogis, but every yogi is supposed to engage in self-realization or Brahman realization. It is clearly stated here that unless one is fully engaged in devotion and service of the Supreme Person of Godhead, one cannot have easy approach to the path of Brahman Siddhi. Like we've been discussing, so this Brahma Siddhi, Brahman realization, Brahma Bhuta, we have to come to this. And actually yesterday I was reading Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter. Actually it's very nice. The last 8 verses, so yeah, 7 verses, 13 to 19, and 13 chapter, 8 to 12. which talks about the process of gnana. Actually, these verses are very, very, very nice. Yeah. You know how beyond Brahmabhuta, the qualities of a devotee are described, and very, very insightful purport Prabhupada has written there. Starting from Adveshta Sarvabhutanam Maitra Karuna Yavacha. Now, when we hear all these various qualities, now all these qualities have to become manifest in us. Hmm. The beginning of this is Brahmabhuta. First thing we have to come out to develop all these good qualities is to understand that I'm not this body, that I'm spirit soul. So at some point in our life, like we were discussing, then I was thinking after yesterday's discussion, I was thinking Bhagavatam, we were talking about how we have to be not, rude, etc., etc. And then I was thinking how um, Chitraketu, Chitraketu, the son died, and then Narada and who's that other Rishi?
Angira Prabhu.
Angira. Okay. Getting confused. Anyway, so they come and immediately they give him spiritual knowledge, saying, "Why are you lamenting?" Right. So we have to come to this platform of clearly understanding and accepting that we are not this body. So as long as we are, very casual about bhakti, we will be attached to bodily platform. While yes, bhakti itself, Tivra bhakti helps us to get over this platform of, thinking I'm the body. For example, yesterday I was discussing with one devotee, 3 days, the devotee had to eat. In some marriage function, etc., had to eat some prasadam that she had taken from Bangalore. So when we do something like this, first is, obviously like showing that, this is love for Krishna. Follow his instructions as he has given in Bhagavad Gita, and not go and say, okay, I'm going to eat some Jain food or some nonsense, right? Um, Now, when we do things like this, we are doing it for Krishna. Now, two things we achieve. One is we overcome this thing about the body. We are too concerned about the body, right? So you say, or we are too concerned about taste, about variety. Now, when we do some austerities like this, right? Then we will start transcending this body. We'll start transcending this body. That is why, irrespective of whatever body or mind, ahaitukya pratihata. So if we are engaged in ahaitukya pratihata bhakti, then over a period of time, we will actually come out of this bodily consciousness. But if we are not doing ahaitukya pratihata, ahaituki means no reason, apratihata, no breakage, right? Unbreakable, no cessation. If we engage in bhakti like this, then irrespective of material condition, then we will come out of this bodily platform. But simply saying that, okay, I'm doing some bhakti, 2 hours bhakti, and when I do it when I can and I don't do it when I can't, that is not going to help us come out of course it will help because it's the most powerful process, but it might take time. But if we do ahetuki apratihata bhakti, then it will be very, very fast. Be very fast. So we have to realize that we have to come to this Brahman platform. We can't progress to pure devotion without coming to this platform. So that is the crux of these teachings, actually, these verses. In the beginning of the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that when one engages himself in devotional service of Vasudeva, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha, Janaiti Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam, spiritual knowledge and renunciation of the material world automatically become manifest again. So if we engage actually in devotional service, then Jnana and Vairagya have to manifest. If they are not manifesting, then there's something wrong. in the way we are doing bhakti. Thus, the devotee does not have to try separately for renunciation or knowledge. Devotional service itself is so powerful that by one's service attitude, everything is revealed. Again, I mean, these words are very, very powerful. Service attitude, right? Not simply just, okay, I'm doing some service, but my consciousness is not in the service. We have to be completely engaged on the platform of understanding that, okay, I am the servant. I'm servant of Krishna. I'm servant of Krishna's devotees, right? So if we actually act on this platform, everything is revealed. Everything is revealed. Many times we see that even with respect to devotional activities, devotees deal with each other like normal people, like karmis. In fact, I mean, in some cases, even karmis are maybe more, um, they follow some etiquette, right? But that means that basically we are losing consciousness. We are losing Krishna consciousness. We becoming some outcome conscious, right? It's not ahituki bhakti. We have some reason. We want to achieve something, and um, you know, uh, again in these verses in 12th chapter, Krishna is saying that a devotee does not, he is not concerned about the fruit of even a devotional activity because he leaves it to Krishna. He just does it sincerely, right? But sometimes, we go into this result orientation mode. And when we go into resultation orientation mode, we fail to remain on the spiritual platform. We come down to material platform. So then we lose the service attitude. We become masters. Somehow subtly we think we are the masters, right? Like I am preaching. So many people are under my care, and this and that and all that. So then we lose service attitude. If we lose service attitude, then no jnana, no vairagya will come. More attachment will happen. Labh puja pratishtha will happen. Hmm. But if we are actually in the service attitude, everything is revealed. But if we do devotional service like this, then we don't need to endeavor for anything. Automatically things will happen. It is stated here, Shiva Pantaha. This is the only auspicious path for self-realization. The path of devotional service is the most confidential means for attaining Brahman realization. That perfection in Brahman realization is attained through the auspicious path of devotional service indicates that so-called Brahman realization or realization of the Brahmajyoti effulgence is not Brahma Siddhi. Beyond that Brahmajyoti, there is Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Upanishads, the devotee prays to the Lord to kindly put aside the effulgence, Brahmajyoti, so that the Hiranmayana Patrena Satyasyapi Hitanmukam Tattvam Poshana Papano Satyadharmaya Drishtaya. The devotee may see within the Brahmajyoti the actual eternal form of the Lord. Unless one attains realization of the transcendental form of the Lord, there is no question of bhakti. Realization, not theory. Realization of the transcendental form. This realization of transcendental form that the Lord is only when we realize that I am Brahman, then we will realize that okay, and he is Para Brahman. Then only bhakti starts. That is pure devotion. Bhakti necessitates the existence of the recipient of devotional service and the devotee who renders devotional service. Brahma Siddhi through devotional service is realization of the Supreme Person of Godhead. The understanding of the effulgent rays of the body of the Supreme Godhead is not the perfect stage of Brahma Siddhi or Brahman realization. Nor is the realization of the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Person perfect. For Bhagavan, the Supreme Person of Godhead is Akhilatma. He is a super soul. One who realizes the Supreme Personality realizes the other features, namely the Paramatma feature and the Brahman feature, and that total realization is Brahma Siddhi. One who realizes, again, this is not knowledge. This is a realized platform. So on the realized platform, one realizes Supreme Brahman, Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically he is realized Paramatma and Brahman because they're all included in that realization. Now, we can't understand what this means, but literally, devotee who realized Bhagavan actually understands clearly, he sees Bhagavan as Paramatma in everybody's heart and also sees Brahman as the Jyoti coming from his body. So he achieves full realization. But this is realization. Again, the focus for us is actually the mood in which we are doing devotional service. That is the key here. Right? We can achieve perfection only when we engage in devotional service as the servant of Krishna and the Vaishnavas. If that mood is lost, then we can't make progress. And any which way, we should remember that we have to come to Brahma Bhuta platform. And bhakti is so powerful that it can directly engaging in activities of bhakti can bring us to that stage, provided we are engaged in ahaituki apratiyata bhakti. If we are not engaged in ahaituki apratiyata, meaning we are doing bhakti whenever we get some time, right? Or it's not 24 hours, then we will have to endeavor also to, like what we were discussing yesterday, looking at ourselves as Atma, seeing that Paramatma is present in us. And again, with the same vision, seeing everybody, everything that we are interacting with, to see that Paramatma exists, so that we respect individuals, then we slowly develop good qualities one after other, and we don't remain attached to material things, material relations, right? So we will have to put some effort to do that. Otherwise, if we engage in Haitukya Bhakti and in the right mood, then we clearly understand, say, I'm the servant of Krishna, so I'm Atma. Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead. I'm his servant. So we engage in that particular mood, and everything that we do is for Krishna's pleasure. Then there's no question of sense gratification. There's no question of bodily platform. None of those exist, right? Because everything that we are doing is just for the pleasure of Krishna. And then automatically we come to that Brahmabhuta platform. Okay. Prasangam ajaram pasham atmanah kavayo viduhu ta eva sadhu shukruto mokshadvaram apavrutam. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But the same attachment, when applied to self-realized devotees, Prabhupada has sadhushu, he is translated as self-realized devotees, meaning highest platform, opens the door of liberation. Attachment for material, entanglement, attachment for devotees, liberation. Here it is clearly stated that attachment for one thing is the cause of bondage in conditional life, and the same attachment, when applied to something else, opens the door of liberation. Attachment cannot be killed. It has simply to be transferred. Like we were talking about attachment to family, attachment to material things. It cannot be killed, but that attachment has to be transferred. Attachment for material things is called material consciousness. Attachment for Krishna is called Krishna, or his devotee is called Krishna consciousness. Consciousness is therefore the platform of attachment. It is clearly stated here that when we simply purify the consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness, we attain liberation. Despite the statement that one should give up attachment, desirelessness is not possible for a living entity. A living entity by constitution has the propensity to be attached to something. We see that if someone has no object of attachment, if he has no children, then he transfers his attachment to cats and dogs. This indicates that the propensity for attachment cannot be stopped. It must be utilized for the best purpose. Our attachment for material things perpetuate our conditional state. But the same attachment, when transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee, is the source of liberation. So this attachment has to be developed. If we become attached to Krishna and his pure devotees, then automatically our attachment towards material goes off. So this is another very powerful method. So one is, so when we say sadhana bhakti, we simply think about I'm doing chanting, I'm doing hearing, reading. Yeah, but more importantly, we have to be attached to Krishna's devotees and Krishna. If you're attached to Krishna and Krishna's devotees, then automatically material attachment will cease. Here is it is recommended that attachment should be transferred to the self-realized devotees, the sadhus. And who is a sadhu? A sadhu is not just an ordinary man with a saffron robe or long beard. Sadhu is described in Bhagavad Gita as one who unflinchingly engages in devotional service, unflinchingly, without deviation. Even though one is found not to be following the strict rules and regulations of devotional service, If one simply has unflinching faith in Krishna, Supreme Person, he is understood to be a sadhu. Sadhureva samantavyaha. Of course, this doesn't mean that we should not follow rules and regulations, but this is Krishna says api chet suduracharo. Bhajate mam ananya bhak. So one who is actually unflinchingly serving Krishna, if by chance they don't follow some rules and regulations, then it's okay. Sadhureva hi mantavya. Not Prabhupada in that purport says, one should not take this as a option and opportunity and then, start breaking rules. And then say, I'm sadhu because of this verse. No, right? Because in the next verse, Krishna actually says, why he is a sadhu? Because quickly he will overcome all that. He'll overcome all that. A sadhu is a strict follower of devotional service. It is recommended. See, Prabhupada is saying he is a strict follower. That's why sometimes he might not follow some rules and regulations. He might come down from the perfect platform, but that's okay. He's still sadhu because he will rectify himself very quickly. It is recommended here that if one at all wants to realize Brahman, his attachment should be transferred to the sadhu or devotee. But Chaitanya also confirmed this. Lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Simply by a moment's association with the sadhu, one can attain perfection. But what does this association mean? Of course, even just being around a self-realized pure devotee of the Lord itself is super beneficial, right? But actually, association means service. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya, right? We have to surrender, we have to serve, and then we can inquire. That is Sangha. Mahatma is a synonym of sadhu. It is said that service to a Mahatma or elevated uh, devotee of the Lord is Dwaram Ahur Vimuktehe, the royal road of liberation. And also in first canto also it is said Mahat Sevaya, if suppose say somebody if somebody doesn't have attachment to hearing, what should one do? What is that verse? Syan Shushusho Saddadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat. Syan Mahat Sevaya. So if we serve a pure devotee, then Shushusho Saddadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi. So we will develop Kataruchi, we will develop taste for Vasudeva Katha by simply serving pure devotees. And then Vidyate, what is that? Hridaya Granthis, Chidyante, Sarva Samshaya, Kshiyante, Chasya Karmani. So then he will come to the platform of liberation by Shravanam. So this rendering service to devotees is very important. Also one more verse here. Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes Tamodvaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. Rendering service to materialists has the opposite effect. Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. Attached to women and wealth. If we associate with them, then that results in bondage. If anyone offers service to a gross materialist or a person engaged only in sense enjoyment, then by the association with such a person, door to hell is open. The same principle is confirmed here. Attachment to devotee is attachment to the service of the Lord. Because if one associates with a sadhu, result will be that the sadhu will teach him how to become a devotee, a worshipper, and a sincere servitor. So this is very important. What is the result of attachment to a devotee? The result of attachment to a devotee is attachment to the service of the Lord. Because if one associates with a sadhu, result will be that the sadhu will teach him how to become a devotee. Sadhu will teach him what is to be a devotee, how to become a devotee, and a sincere servitor. We have to learn. We have to learn. So this association is not just sentimental. Association starts with Shravanam. So we have to hear. We have to hear from Guru, from Vaishnavas, how to become devotee. And that hearing process is just about, yesterday one devotee was saying, I just read Beyond Birth and Death, some few pages, and then it changed so many aspects of my life. I said, yes, that is the power of association with a pure devotee. When we simply hear, then it will tell us how to become a devotee. Okay, give up all this nonsense. But if you are not hearing, then how can we learn? Mm. And if you don't have the intelligence to see and learn, then we have to hear. Of course, many times it's difficult to even see and learn because uh, why we can't even judge or understand why Vaishnavas behave in certain ways, right? Because they are so exalted, they will have various reasons why they'll be doing certain things, and we can't just copy them also, right? So we have to hear because they'll tell to according to our level of maturity, they'll tell us how what needs to be done. Prabhupada is doing that. I mean, he's eternal associate of the Lord, but he's telling us, he's coming down to our level, Uttamadhikari, coming down to our level, and then he's telling us, do this, give up attachment for sense gratification. I mean, it's not for him, right? He's teaching us. For him, there's nothing like sense gratification. Doesn't exist at all. But he's coming down to our level and telling us, saying that, yeah, you have to do this, you have to do that. This is to be done. This should not be done. So actually, if you associate with Srila Prabhupada, then we will become a perfect devotee. We will become a perfect devotee. It's just a matter of time. But if you don't associate with Srila Prabhupada by hearing from him through his books, lectures, conversations, etc., then we will not become that devotee. And I've told this before, saying that Prabhupada in his books has told what is the mold of the devotee. The mold. So if we fit into that mold, then we are ready to go back to Krishna. Krishna will accept us. These are the gifts of a sadhu. If you want to associate with a sadhu, we cannot expect him to give us instructions on how to improve our material condition, or we should not expect him to tell us what we like him to say. This is another problem. We go to Guru and Krishna, sadhus, and we say something, and we expect them to reply or give a suggestion or a solution in the way in lines with what we want. That's also not going to be of any use. But he will give us instructions on how to cut the knot of contamination of material attraction. See, sadhu means he will pierce our heart. The knot, uh, vidyate hridaya granthis. Hridaya granthi, there is a knot in the heart. What is this knot? Samsara knot. Attachment to aham and mama. This is the knot. What does the sadhu do? Cuts the knot. He cuts the knot of contamination. Now, if a sadhu has to cut the knot of contamination, he cannot be nice. Sadhu is not expected to be nice. Sadhu is going to cut the knot. Sadhu's job is to cut the knot. Prabhupada once said, saying that, if we are preaching and nobody is agitated by our preaching, that means we are not really doing preaching. If somebody is agitated, that means that there's some effect happening. That means that we are doing something good. Right? Because otherwise, we are not here to entertain people, isn't it? We are here to change our lives and change others' lives also. Yes, of course. Then time, based on the maturity of the individuals, etc., we can give, step by step. But even in that initial step, it will be cutting only, right? But it will be a little bit maybe soft in that sense. But cutting has to happen. This cutting the knot has to happen. So this is what the instruction we will get from sadhu: how to cut the knot of contamination of material attraction and how to elevate ourselves in devotional service. That is the result of associating with a sadhu. So if we are associating with a sadhu, if we are not progressing in devotional service, then that association is not really helping. Kapila Muni, first of all, instructs that the path of liberation begins with such association. So it is the association that is important. We have to associate with Vaishnavas. We have to hear from them. We have to fix ourselves, correct ourselves. And that the Vaishnavas give instructions such that it cuts the knot of contamination of material attraction and helps us elevate ourselves. That is the result of associating with the sadhu. So please recognize, we should recognize the sadhu Sadhu is one who will give us instructions which will cut the knot of contamination. So we associate with such sadhus. And the most powerful sadhu is Srila Prabhupada. Just by reading his books, all nonsense can get cut out. Simply by reading his books, nothing. Prabhupada always said, I'm always in my books. Right? So associate with Prabhupada through his books, through his Vani, and then he's the sadhu. Right? So we cut the knot of our attachment, material attraction, and then we will elevate ourselves in Krishna consciousness. And then we'll come to Brahma Bhuta and then Shuddha Bhakti and then achieve perfection. Okay, stopping here. Any questions, comments? Okay, then we'll stop here. Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarupishta Kripa Sindhu Bhaya